Hey everyone, welcome. Is anybody still using an 11-speed drivetrain? What about 10-speed? What about 9? Well, according to Shimano, in 2024, they want to equip 1 in 5 bikes with something like this. Shimano Q's based on their Link Glide technology. The cassette seems to be the secret sauce for all this, so why don't we take a closer look, see what it brings to the table, and while we're at it, we're going to talk about chains as well. So let's do it. And if in my previous video I talked about their new Q's cranks that kind of borrowed some ideas from SRAM, in this video I'm gonna have the Q's cassette right next to one of the old 11-speed HG cassettes or Hyperglide, because from a durability standpoint, Shimano Q's is supposed to be 300% more durable compared to something like this. And by the way, thanks to Paul at Bike Components for providing me this Q's group set to put it in front of you. And he also provided a discount code. Make sure you check the description of the video. This is the LG400 cassette, the widest range cassette in the Q's lineup. This is an 11-speed that goes all the way up to 50 tooth. It's definitely based on a Link Glide. 9 of the cogs are riveted together, with the 11 and 13 tooth being loose. By the way, these are common among all their Q's cassettes. The back of the cassette doesn't show us anything different than the many rivets used to hold this together. As for the lock ring, this is the usual steel-based that requires 40 Newton meters just to tighten up the cassette. What's special about the cassette, and you'll see that right away, is the coating that they have applied. This is nickel plated and it looks very nice. Looks better than the previous Dior cassettes. Nickel plating also provides corrosion resistance and is supposed to make the cassette harder to wear. But that's not the only trick that they have up their sleeve with this new Shimano Link Glide. They're talking about taller teeth and also a wider base for the cassette teeth. And here we have old Hyperglide cassette 11-speed versus new Link Glide 11-speed cassette. We start to look at the cogs, and this is where we can take a look and see if the teeth are indeed taller. On this smaller cogs, I don't really see any difference. The only difference that I see is definitely machining of some of their cogs, and also what you're gonna find is that the shift gates or shift ramps that they involve with the Link Glide are quite a bit more sophisticated than what they've used for Hyperglide. Also, the shift gates here seem to be a deeper cut into the metal, but remember, the other thing that they say is that the new base of the teeth is quite a bit thicker than the old. Indeed, here we are measuring the base of the teeth on this 13 tooth Link Glide, and in comparison you see this is the 13 tooth of the old cassette. Again, this comes up to pretty much 1.5 millimeters as opposed to the Link Glide close to 2 millimeter, so about 30% thicker base for some of these teeth. Interestingly, that 1.9 millimeter thickness of the base of the tooth is to be found here on the aluminum cog, this being the largest cog on the old cassette. Here it is, 195. So they've already had that, they've already used that thicker base on this aluminum cog. Obviously the new cassettes don't use any aluminum whatsoever, so it's just steel with a thicker base, and you see here on the cassette way deeper cuts on the cogs for the shift gates. And all this stuff is Link Glide specific, not Q's specific. Link Glide being their technology launched last year with their Dior and XT that were e-bike group sets. Now they're expanding the use to mid-level bikes, pretty much used by anyone, and the idea is to just use a Shimano Q's drivetrain and only select 11, 10 or 9 speed. The trick to all this is that even though the cassette is the secret sauce, even though the cassette involves the new technology, they do not need a specific or new chain that is proprietary. Any 11-speed chain that you might have in use today will work just fine on these new Link Glide based cassettes, and it will still provide you with the Link Glide tech as per Shimano. And not only that, all their Q's drivetrains, so that includes the 9, the 10, the 11-speed, use the same 11-speed type of chains, which means that the spacing between the cogs is pretty much the same. So imagine this 11-speed cassette. How do I make this a 10-speed cassette? I just eliminate one cog and I got that. What about a 9-speed? I eliminate 2 cogs from here and I got a 9-speed cassette. Obviously, that's not exactly what Shimano's doing when producing their 10-speed and 9-speed, but if you look at this table on their website, you're gonna see that the maximum range for 9-speed is 1146 tooth, the maximum range for 10-speed is 1148, and then you have a few other options for their 2x drivetrains, with this 1150 tooth cassette being offered only in the 11-speed version of the Q's drivetrains. All these cassettes, all of them are compatible with this, the good old HG driver from Shimano, introduced in the 80s, so that should guarantee backwards compatibilities with any wheel sets that you might have. But for high torque applications like e-bikes, you should seriously consider a steel freehub body similar to this one, because otherwise those loose cogs on these cassettes are going to just rip this apart. But if you can't get a steel freehub body, an alternative to this cassette would be the LG 700 cassette. That one uses an aluminum carrier and 4 loose cogs. And with all the cogs being made out of steel, thicker bays, and all that kind of jazz, there's gotta be some penalty on weight. Indeed, we have 680 grams for that big cluster of the 400 cassette. And if we add the first 2 cogs and the lock ring, that's 720 grams. Now, in comparison with the M5100, the 11 to 51 tooth Deore that this one replaces, that one, as you can see, is 620 grams. So the penalty is 100 grams for this cassette, but this one provides you with Link Glide. And if you were to go with that LG 700 cassette instead, you would save again about 100 grams, bringing it down to about 610 grams. And guess what? You can drop this cassette into an M5100 drivetrain and you are provided with Link Glide right away with no other changes to the system whatsoever. But with all this talk about durability and weight, let's not forget that the new Link Glide as a technology brings smooth shifting up and down the cassette. This would be, let's say, similar to HG Plus that we have on 12-speed. That means less vibration transmitted through the drivetrain. You're also gonna see most probably slower shifting, again, from the larger cogs to the smaller cogs. Is it smoother than before? Yes, it should be. Is it slower than before? Yes, this should be slower, so don't kill yourself when installing something like this. It is normal. Do you guys remember the shifts better the harder you pedal? That's something that SRAM transmissions talk about. Remember, they are talking about that in the context of electronic shifting, cassette mapping, and all that kind of mambo jumbo that looks like Shimano managed to pull off just by being smart in designing their cassettes. So I don't know about you, but I think Link Glide is actually pretty cool, and it might even be compatible with your existing drivetrains, but I guess I'm gonna have to talk about that in my next video when I am covering the shifter and the derailleur, both of which are different than what we have today. So what do you guys think about these new Q's cassettes? Are you gonna get one for your existing 11 or 10 speed? Do you have any questions for me? Do you like this video? Let me know in the comments below. Remember, you have a discount code that you can take advantage of it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, hope to see you guys on the trails. Cheers, guys. Cheers.